Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lee and Low's Fall 2026 Seasonal Showcase. We are excited to share what's new in picture books and novels from your favorite independent multicultural children's publisher. And this year, we are so thrilled to be celebrating 35 years of publishing books that are about everyone and for everyone. So, without further ado, let's get to it. First, some housekeeping things. To enable closed captioning on your screen, navigate to the Zoom webinar controls toolbar and click the show captions icon. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. And the audience is in listen only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. Simply find the Q&A button in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen and type your questions into the box that appears. And following the presentation, all registrants will receive a link to the recording via email, and the recording will also be posted to our YouTube channel. So my name is Jennifer Kwam. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the marketing associate here at Lee& Low Books. I am a light-skinned Syrian American woman with long brown hair, and I'm wearing a black shirt with tan polka dots, and I'm wearing gold hoop earrings. My background is blurred, but if it wasn't, you would be seeing my living room. And speaking alongside me today are Stephanie Frescas Macias and Wendy Shao. They'll each introduce themselves as we move through our presentation. We're also excited to hear from some special guests today, Karen Howe and Luisana Duarte Armendariz. Each will share about the inspiration behind their forthcoming books and what they hope young readers will take with them after reading. All of you attending the webinar live today will be entered for a chance to win a set of advanced reader copies of our fall 2026 novels. And in the next few days, we will choose 5 winners at random and reach out to you to let you know that you've won. Be sure to head over to Edelweiss after the webinar to request access to digital review copies for all the books we'll cover today. And you can also browse our various other catalogs in there as well. And while our main focus today is on fall titles, before we get to that, I just want to do a quick shout out to our spring titles that are all on sale now. So first up, we have Ours, A Story of Loss and Healing, which is a picture book that will resonate with families who have endured unexpected pregnancy loss and are beginning to heal together. Earlier this year, it received a starred review from Forward Reviews. And then we have Lucia's Goals, Los Goles de Lucia, which is an English-Spanish bilingual picture book, perfect for read-alouds and great for soccer fans, which is especially great now as the World Cup is kicking off. And then Liberty's Forgotten Hero, a picture book biography about James Fortin, who served in the American Revolution and then dedicated his life to fighting for the ideal of all men are created equal. And it's the perfect book to add to lessons around America's 250th anniversary. Then we have The Hero Twins in the Realm of Fright, a graphic novel retelling of an indigenous Mexican tale following twins who must use their magic of song to rescue their father and uncle from the land of the dead. It's a wonderful adventure for middle grade readers and also has a Spanish edition. Second to last is My Name is Harriet Mansour, not Harry Mansuit, which is a hilarious coming of age illustrated middle grade that follows Harriet and her Iranian family living in California. And lastly, Monarchs in the Wild, which tells the story of a recent high school graduate living in California in the 90s, who, after witnessing the tragic death of a classmate, searches for a way out of his rural town before he becomes another nobody migrant statistic. So just wanted to give those spring titles some love. But now we're going to jump into our fall titles. So we're going to kick things off with our new Let's Read Decodable Books collection created in partnership with the Asian Foundation. And I'm excited to bring on Wendy Shao, the educational design specialist at the Asia Foundation. I'll hand it over to her now to introduce herself and talk about this amazing new collection of titles that were created with the youngest phonics learners in mind. And if you have any questions for Wendy as she's presenting, feel free to leave them in the chat. And if we have time, we'll get to them at the end of her presentation.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everybody, and thank you to the Lee and Low team for having me. My name is Wendy Shao. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Educational Design Specialist here at the Asia Foundation. I am an East Asian woman with short black hair. I'm wearing glasses and a black shirt, and I have a blurred tan background. And I'm truly honored to be here today to share just a sneak peek on the Let's Read Decodable Books collection. So, for some background, Let's Read is an early literacy program fostering the joy of reading across Asia and the Pacific, and we work in 12 countries across the region. We have a free digital library with over 10,000 children's books in 60 plus languages, and millions of children have access to books in both their primary language as well as in English. And one of the pillars of our program is creating high quality, culturally relevant storybooks in partnership with local authors and illustrators. And so back in 2023, we started thinking about creating these decodable books. There was a huge increase in demand from parents, especially who really wanted high quality, diverse books for their children who were learning how to read in English. And so at the foundation of creating decodables is really the scope and sequence. And so we looked at many different research-based scope and sequences when we set out to create our decodables. And ultimately, our evidence-based scope and sequence is most closely aligned with Wilson Foundations. But these books are really designed to work alongside any explicit systematic phonics program. So it really moves from simple letter sound relationships to more complex relationships. And whatever you're using in your classroom, these decodables are meant to be additional practice opportunities for your students. Within our collection, every decodable maintains at least 90% decodability against our scope and sequence, which means that 90% or more of the words are decodable. And we spiral previously introduced letter sound relationships throughout the series. So students are continuously reinforcing previously learned skills as they move through the books. We also cross referenced high frequency word lists for both kindergarten and first grade to make sure that students are encountering words that they've mastered or already learning in those grades. And for the fall, the books that are being released, which are books 1 through 10, they focus on short vowels, consonants, CVC words, digraphs, and the nasal and sound. And so within each decodable, you'll see a table with all of the information that you really need uh, to prepare your students and in your classroom. And then lastly, a little piece to know is that when we were working with our illustrators, really asked them to bring that story to life, but not to give the text away. So students really have to use their decoding skills to sound out the words themselves, and they can't just look at the picture and guess. Now, here's what makes this decodable collection unique. So we worked with authors and illustrators from 7 of the 12 countries where we have programming, and each story truly pulls directly from their lived experiences. We were guided by Redeemed Sims Bishop's concept of mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. So the idea that children need books that reflect their own lives, that serve as mirrors, books that allow readers to see the lives, cultures, worlds that they haven't encountered before and really serve as windows. And also books that invite readers to step into those imagined worlds and experience them fully, really feeling the empathy from the characters and serving as sliding glass doors. So we built this decodable books collection around this framework, and our goal was really to create decodables that feel rich, authentic, and are genuinely representative of children across Asia and the Pacific. And so the illustrations that you see on this page, you're transported into 3 different worlds. The far left in Ben and Bob, students will visit the rural Philippines. Uh, in the middle is they will get to go on a monkey adventure with monkeys in Nepal. And then on the far right, they'll visit the forests of Sumatra in Indonesia and get to meet a tip here. So these settings are real, the details are authentic, and the cultural vocabulary is very intentional. And every decodable also comes with a page at the end, so the back matter, that really provides this additional context about the setting, the key cultural vocabulary, and the world behind the story. So, how can you use these decodables in your classroom and also supporting families at home? First, it's very important to note that these are supplemental resources. So they're meant to complement your core phonics instruction. They're that application layer, so a place for students to really apply and practice the skills that they're already learning in the classroom. And before students even open the book as pre-reading, it's really important to practice those target words and high frequency words so that when students encounter them in the text in context, they're able to decode them with fluency and confidence rather than stumbling across them for the first time. And as part of that pre-reading, we also recommend using that back matter page to build background knowledge and really expand students' worldview. So this is where that cultural richness comes in. You can pull up real images of the different communities, settings that students are going to see in the books themselves. So you can pull up what the rural Philippines community might look like. You can also look at what Java might look like. So in this rightmost illustration, you can see a home of a typical Javanese house, which is Java is the fifth largest island in Indonesia. So something very different for many students in the US to take a look at. And this is also a great moment to review the vocabulary that's introduced in the back of the story so that students have the context that they need to really step into the story with curiosity. And then when you're actually reading reading the decodable with your students, whether that's individually, in pairs and small groups, or as a whole group, really making sure to prompt them to use their decoding skills, slow down when they get stuck on a word, and really isolate those sounds, blend them together, really supporting your students as they're navigating these decodables. And then finally, encouraging students to reread the decodables at home. So this is a great opportunity for fluency. So you can send the book home, let families know that rereading is where fluency really builds. And they'll also give it back matter too, so they'll have that cultural context as well. So in closing, these decodables are really meant to integrate into your existing instruction and amplify it by making it richer, more global, and more representative than it might have been before. And we believe that your students deserve books that let them practice their letter sound relationships while also giving them a reason to read. And so we believe that this collection really does those both really well, and we can't wait to see them in your classrooms supporting your instruction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. We're so excited for this new Decodable Books collection. We hope everybody else is too. So now we are going to jump into our fall 2026 picture books. And first up, we can go to the next slide. Yep. First up, we have Johnny Tunes and the Gandy Dancers, which is available on September 8th. So, author Pamela Tuck, who won our New Voices Award for As Fast as Words Could Fly, wrote this story with her husband, who unfortunately passed away in 2014, but she drew inspiration from her great-grandfather's journey of being a sharecropper to becoming a landowner in the segregated South. So, this is a very emotional and meaningful book for her in multiple ways. The story begins with Johnny and his older brothers working in the fields as sharecroppers. Johnny is singing a work song to help pass the time and keep everyone going. When the Western Railroad Company comes to town and is looking for workers to lay down the tracks, the family sees an opportunity to leave sharecropping behind, and his brothers get jobs immediately. Johnny shares their dream, but the foreman focuses on the effects of polio um, that Johnny has, which leave him with one leg shorter than the other, and unfortunately, he gets sent away. However, Johnny persists and returns the next day. So, seeing the frustrated workers, he sings out a work song to help synchronize and motivate them. So, seeing how much it improves their work, the foreman changes his mind and hires Johnny. Throughout the story, Pamela weaves work songs to reflect Johnny's deepest wishes and ambitions. She says the call and response work songs that Johnny sings reflect the historical role of music and songs used as tools for unity, endurance, and survival in African American culture. Pamela actually shared an audio clip example of the work songs that really help bring it to life in the rhythm of the story. So we're going to attempt to play one for you now. And if you cannot hear it,
like you should move together at one time and get that rail back in line.
that was just a little clip there. So Pamela shared the audio clips of the work, and it really helped show Johnny's contribution to his family, not just through labor, but musical talent. The book shows the power of art and its ability to get us through tough times. And speaking of art, Jerry Jordan's beautiful hand-painted oil on canvas illustrations bring a folk-like feel to the story of determination to prove that every voice matters. Next up is our 2020 New Voices winner, The Things We Hold by debut author and teacher Vanessa Lewis Porter and award-winning illustrator Cornelius Van Wright. This is an emotional book about Lily, the oldest daughter who is holding the weight of her family's housing insecurity. Each morning, she wakes up in their car and helps her sister get ready for school. When her mom drops them off and picks them up, she prays that nobody finds out it is also their home. Throughout her school day, there are many moments of stress, like when she's asked to do a writing assignment about her home or when there's a field trip with a fee. Similarly to Johnny's story, one place where Lily finds freedom is in creating art, like in this gorgeous illustration. The story serves as a gentle reminder to always treat others with kindness because you never know what they're going through. And unfortunately, this feels like a very timely and needed story. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, in 2024, there were over 770,000 people in the United States who are unhoused, and this includes children. Though she did not experience homelessness herself, Vanessa worked as a teacher in LA for decades with many students who lived in shelters, and she conducted research to really get an understanding of their lived experiences. We wanted to end the story on a hopeful and realistic note because the heart of the story isn't really about finding a physical home, but feeling less alone. And so the burden of keeping the secret has been lifted at the end, and Lily is able to find community. Next, we have a bright and colorful nonfiction title that celebrates women in STEM and the abilities of people across all ages and socioeconomic statuses to learn new things. Solar Mamas is the true story of a young engineer who taught the concepts of solar engineering to grandmothers living in a remote village in India. And this project comes from a stellar team. Author Jyoti Nukla is a woman of color working in STEM, and Nabi H. Ali is a Tamil American illustrator who has created many gorgeous picture books, including Laxmi's Mooch. The desert village of Talonia in India is filled with radiant sunshine during the day, but is plunged into darkness when the sun goes down. When Sanjit Bunker Roy visits, he has the bright idea to teach the men to harness the sun's energy through solar engineering. But those men use their new knowledge to leave home for better opportunities. So Bunker realizes that the grandmothers of the village are actually the least likely people to abandon it. Through the concepts of solar engineering, which are complex, the women are curious, collaborative, and hardworking. They come together to help the village shine with solar power, and they even use the skills they have to mentor others and pass on their knowledge. The real-life Bunker Roy was selected as one of Time 100's most influential people for his work with Barefoot College, which is an institution that harnesses the ingenuity of illiterate people in rural areas. This book also explains the basics of solar engineering and introduces young readers to renewable energy while making it clear that anyone can learn, even when they struggle or doubt their capabilities, like the grandmothers did at first. And next up, we're excited to introduce New Voices winner and debut author Karen Howe. Karen Hao is an award-winning Chinese Filipina storyteller, born and raised in the Philippines. A longtime Angelina and now a Seattle resident, she wrote The Shape of Love, inspired by the distinct smell of opening a Bailikbayan box and the happy memories of digging through these cardboard treasure chests. She's fascinated by the common threads between people of different cultures and hopes her stories help paint a clearer, richer picture of Filipino and Chinese culture in children's books. If you have any questions for Karen as she's presenting, feel free to leave them in the chat. And if we have time, we'll get to them at the end of her presentation. But now I'll pass it over to her to tell you more.
Hi, thanks so much, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Hao. I'm a Chinese Filipino woman with she, her, hers pronouns. I have straight black hair that goes up to my shoulders, and I am wearing a round neck sleeveless magenta shirt. My background is of temple grounds in a city called Dazaifu in Fukuoka, where my sister lives. And I am super thrilled to be with you guys today. I'm so excited to be in a space with as many people who love stories as much as I do. And like many of you, I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a children's book author. I'm also an Emmy-nominated arts and culture journalist. I have been published in the LA Times, Entrepreneur, Fast Company, and many other publications. I'm also a content strategy consultant for nonprofits and mission-driven organizations, helping them tell their stories and also reach their audiences. So today I'll be talking about The Shape of Love, which is my New Voices Award-winning story. The Shape of Love is an ode to the Filipino tradition of balikbayan boxes, and it is a lyrical story of a mother and caregiver, Celia, who lives in Los Angeles. She's thousands of miles away from her family in the Philippines, and in the story, she is packing this giant box of love for her children, and it's filled with specially chosen items that she's kind of collected over weeks and months. And the story follows the epic journey of this box to this very special family. And just to show you how epic this journey is, I am showing one spread by my amazing illustrator, Corinne Caro, who is also based in the Philippines. In her spread, she shows you just a snippet of this journey that this cardboard box takes. It's now on this freighter ship and it is traveling about 2 3 months to get to the Philippines over the Pacific Ocean. So imagine braving tumultuous waters and a lot of wind and a lot of weather just to get to where you're going, right? It's a little bit epic, a bit of an odyssey. The inspiration for this book is really my lived experience. So, growing up, I grew up with very hardworking parents. And part of that work meant that my dad had to work for months at a time and not be with our family. But even though he wasn't there physically for months at a time, every so often we would get these boxes that were filled with just, for me at a time, like magical items. They were like glimpses of another world that I wasn't in, and that I could experience through the items inside this box. The second picture shows you one of my favorite items in said box, which is the only one I had photos of. It is these white boots that were, to my 8 or 9 year old self, kind of magical. They were just like so fashion forward. I couldn't wait to wear them. I had to wait a couple months for my feet to grow big enough so that I could actually wear them. But to this day, it's one of those items that I remember, along with VHS tapes. My dad used to record Saturday morning cartoons in the US. That was before Netflix and all the streaming shows were still available. So I got a glimpse of just, what the television shows were like in the United States at that time. The third photo shows you the balikbayan box that I actually immigrated to the United States with. So it is a box that has cultural resonance even past gift giving. For me, it's becoming like just a place where it's a big container, but it fits your life, it fits your hopes, and it fits your promises. The last photo is a photo of a balikbayan boxes at an airport. So in a carousel, you'll be used to seeing a lot of luggage kind of rolling around, but especially during Christmas time and the holidays, a lot of Filipino workers who are able to go back home to the Philippines pack their gifts and all of the things that they have collected over the months in balikbayan boxes. And so the carousels are just filled with all of these boxes rather than just the traditional luggage. For research, I concentrated a lot on triangulation actually, since I had a lot of lived experience. I wanted to see, do other people feel or experience the same things as much as I do? And for the most part, the answer was definitely yes. One of the best reads that I had read is this Los Angeles Times article by Frank Chong that delves into this billion-dollar industry for Filipinos who live overseas. I learned a lot about its history, which I didn't know before, actually, that it was a practice that officially began in the 1970s because of government programs. And it also grew in popularity during the 1980s. But I think personally, from experience, Filipinos also have a very strong gift giving culture called pasalubong. So it's probably also founded on that. And that's why it still is an enduring kind of practice until today. The right side is of a book that I had read after I had written the first drafts of the story. And it made me realize why my main character was someone that I had cast as someone in the healthcare industry. So, Catherine Zuniza Choi's Empire of Care does a wonderful job just kind of talking about the historical reasons and even the gender and the political dynamics that went into the reasons why there are so many Filipinos, especially Filipina nurses in the healthcare industry. Um, I also looked into just the data. I'm a data type of person, and I love kind of getting a feel of how big or how prevalent something is. So, the Philippine Statistics Authority publishes specific data on Filipinos who work abroad. There are about 2.19 million of them as of 2024, and then more than half are female, and then about a quarter are about 45 years and older. And my favorite part of the research is actually always listening to people's experiences of balikbayan boxes, and there have been quite a few. So for Anthony Ocampo, who's a professor and also an author himself, he talks about the boxes as these remnants of a home that people have. So you're working abroad and you're cut off from your community, and so these balikbayan boxes are a way of just to keep that connection. Nita Matheson in Springfield, Virginia, talks about how these are physical objects. So she could easily send money back to her family in the Philippines, but that kind of goes away and disappears rather quickly. But if it's like shoes that they will always wear, shirts that they'll always wear, or the next blue jeans that they want to wear, it's something that they keep using and using over and over again, and in a way, just for her to be remembered, even though she's not physically there. Um, my favorite quote is probably from Michelle Magalong. When the box is sent, there's this sense of return of a person. So, in a way, even though the person is not there physically, there's always a sense that they're there and they're thinking of you just by the objects or by the box itself being there. So another one of Korean's amazing spreads is she captures just this dynamic of these families trying to connect to each other. And you see here are now familiar Zoom calls where the families are chatting and they're trying to catch up with each other's lives, even though you can tell that it's nighttime in the Philippines, well, it's still morning in Los Angeles. And they do this kind of on a regular basis. And it just shows you the ongoing connection of these families, even though they're thousands of miles apart. And the next slide. This is an equivalent from my own family. So, this is my family celebrating my mom's birthday. And in my family, we do this kind of on a weekly or a monthly basis. So, even though we're not there all together, I have a sister in the Bay Area, I have another sister in Japan. That's my background. And I have a family still in the Philippines, and we have to traverse so many time zones. It is still our way of trying to stay in touch as well. So the themes that the book covers obviously is talking about families who are separated by migration and trying to keep these familial connections fresh and warm and alive. You'll also see kind of parents and the love and the sacrifice that they put into keeping a family together, not just with the mother who's sending the balikbayan boxes, but also I want to say the father who's keeping the family together and kind of running the day-to-day needs of the family. It honors working parents, especially who are in the healthcare industry. And it also talks about a childhood that is kind of uh, punctuated by experiences of a different world or a different country. And it touches on how immigration and labor migration also changes the dynamic in the family. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope you enjoy the story.
Thank you, Karen. Um, we're so excited for The Shape of Love. And now we are going to move on to a new in Spanish title that is grooving onto shelves this fall. Cae y el Paso Eléctrico is the Spanish edition of the joyful picture book, The Electric Sliding Cae, which received glowing reviews from trade magazines, educators, and readers alike. This is a lighthearted and exciting story about a contemporary Black family that celebrates Black boy joy. Kai's aunt is getting married, and everyone in the Donovan family is excited except Kai. He is the only member of the family who can't get the dance steps to the electric slide right, and the only member of the family who hasn't been given a cool nickname from his granddad. The story shows Kai working hard and celebrates family traditions, all leading up to an ending that will have readers dancing and thinking about their own family and cultural traditions. So we're proud to bring Kelly J. Baptist's story to Spanish language readers this fall. And then lastly, for picture books are some new to paperback titles. Bookjoy Wordjoy is a collection of poems from Pat Mora that celebrates the love of words and is perfect for use in schools and for family read-alouds. It was recognized by the National Council of Teachers of English, or the NCTE, as a notable book in the language arts. Martí's Song for Freedom is a bilingual biography of Jose Martí, who dedicated his life to the work of abolishing slavery and fighting for political and intellectual independence in Cuba, and it was named the Best Book of the Year by both School Library Journal and Kirkus Reviews. Churuco is another bilingual biography and the recipient of the Purabel Pre Illustrator Award honor, and it's about Julio Citeo, an archaeologist who unearthed Peru's ancient cultures. It also received 3-star reviews. And last, we have Tiny Stitches, the story of Black surgical technician Vivian Thomas, who developed the first open heart surgery procedure on children. And this one received an NAACP Image Award for outstanding literary work for children. And now I'm going to pass it along to Stephanie to chat about our chapter books and novels.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jen. My name is Stephanie Frescos Macias. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an assistant editor at Leon Low Books. I am a tan Mexican woman with straight black hair. I'm wearing a hot pink shirt with some flowers on it, and my background is a blurred cream wall. And I'm really looking forward to introducing you to these 3 gorgeous frontlist titles from our 2 books imprint. So first up, we have Ricky and Ray, the everyday and sometimes epic adventures of the Tucker sisters by New Visions Award winner Tiffany Golden. We're really excited about this title because it's actually a collection of 10 short stories, making this middle grade book more easily digestible for young readers. Over the course of these 10 short stories, 9-year-old Ricky and 8-year-old Ray outsmart bullies, face health scares, and have their world flipped upside down by their parents' unexpected separation. Ricky and Ray is smartly written and the perfect depiction of a young sister-sister relationship. The tagline is, "A sister is not for the weak, but they're lifesavers in tough times." And as someone with a very spirited younger sister, I can attest to the accuracy of this tagline and its portrayal in the book. Ricky and Ray have very distinct voices, which is quite a feat when writing with the perspective of an 8 and 9-year-old. This makes the obstacles that they overcome authentic and engaging. Kids will be able to relate to their everyday struggles, plus some struggles that feel heavier than others. What's more, each of the 10 short stories can be read as standalones, making them more accessible for young readers and for educators. Ultimately, this collection of short stories, all accompanied by a fun illustration also created by the author, is a mix of funny, serious, and sweet moments. We're excited for it to release very soon on August 25th. And next up, we have the Minghua Detective Agency. No case too small for fees not too large. Lee and Lo is super excited for this first installment in a brand new chapter book series, with each book covering a different season of the year. As you can see, we're starting out with summer in this first book, The Minghua Detective Agency Summer Drama. Now, as someone who loved mystery books when she was a kid, specifically the Mary Kate and Ashley Detective chapter books, if any of you happen to remember those, I'm here to tell you that this series has that same lighthearted, nostalgic feel that both kids and their parents will love. Each chapter follows 10-year-old Chinese American twins, Ming and Hua, as they try to solve a case in their suburban New Jersey neighborhood. And what's great about this is that you don't have to read the chapters in order. Each story is self-contained, so kids can flip through the book and find which case piques their interest and just dive right in. There are several illustrations throughout the book, and at the end of each chapter, there's a page where the book asks the reader who done it and has some lines where they can fill in their answer. But don't worry, there is a note that lets readers know that they can write in the book only if it belongs to them, as we know our library friends don't appreciate scribbles in their books. What's more, the book is written by twin sisters Ming and Hua, the very same Ming and Hua from the book. And while the mysteries they wrote about are fictional, their endearing sibling dynamic is very real and very much present throughout each chapter, making the stories within more authentic and fun. So get ready to solve some mysteries with Ming and Hua on October 13th. And next up, I am excited to introduce Luisana Duarte Armendariz. Luisana is an author and translator who grew up in the Juarez, Mexico, El Paso, Texas border, and she will soon be back in the region, teaching English at the University of Texas at El Paso. She'll also be earning her PhD in English from the University of Connecticut this August. She loves reading, spending time with her dog, Thalia, and beating her family at Chinese checkers. Luisana's first middle grade novel, Julieta and the Diamond Enigma, won our New Visions Award in 2018. If you have any questions throughout her presentation, please drop them into the chat and we'll make sure to cover them. So now I'll pass it over to Luisana to tell you more about Julieta's newest adventure.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you are joining us from the West Coast. Thank you to Lee and Lo for inviting me today, and to Shaughnessy, Jennifer, and Stephanie for setting this up. My name is Luisana Duarte Armendariz. I'm a Mexican dark-skinned woman with wavy brown hair, shoulder-length hair, and today I'm wearing a white blouse with black embroidery and glasses. And I have a teal background with the covers of my two Julieta books. The picture that you see here in the slide, in which I think I'm also wearing white, is me in front of Guanajuato's University, built in 1732 as the Hospicio de la Santísima Trinidad, a school for the children and the youth of Guanajuato. Now it's a university and it is nicknamed the Beehive. Their mascot is a bee, and the students are called the Swarm when they go up these steps. For those of you who are not that familiar with Mexican geography, Guanajuato is a town in the state with the same name in central Mexico. And this is where Julieta's second adventure takes place. But first, a tiny bit about myself. So if we can go to the next slide, please. That's me, maybe around 3 or 4 years old, post-Christmas dinner, saying thank you, God, for the lovely dinner, but also being silly while posing for the camera. And while I'm sure I enjoyed that dinner and eat all kinds of foods now, I've never had an oyster. Just thinking about them gives me the creeps. I don't know if this is because I grew up in the desert in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, right across the border from El Paso, Texas. For those familiar with Boston, Juarez and El Paso are as close as Boston and Cambridge, except our river has no water. Again, we live in the desert. And one other fact about me is that I have a synesthesia where my mouth waters looking at certain colors or some textures even. So it's really fun to go to the museum with me. Right now, as Stephanie mentioned, I am about to finish my PhD in English at the University of Connecticut, so go Huskies. And we'll be moving back to El Paso to teach at the University of Texas at El Paso, go Miners. But it has taken me a long time to get here. I've had all kinds of jobs. I've been a photographer, a sandwich maker, an edible arrangements arranger. I've been an extra on a TV show. Catch me in episode 5 of Defending Jacob. I've taught visual arts. I've done web development. I was a Catholic missionary in the Philippines, but I've always been a writer. If we can go to the next slide, please. When I was 8, I had a family newspaper and was a reporter, editor, publisher, and distributor. And this was pre-newsletter services. So printing and snail mail got a bit expensive after a while. And as they say in Spanish, la cabra tira al monte, or the goat always heads for the hills, meaning I can't deny what I've always been. I've always been a writer, even though, like I said, it took some time to get here. Next slide, please. And now I have my second novel, Julieta and the Cryptic Rose, coming out September 15th. Julieta Leal Romero is a 10-year-old Mexican-American girl who lives in Boston with her parents. She loves mythology and art. Her parents both work at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Her dad, Manuel, is an art handler and took Julieta to France in her first adventure, Julieta and the Diamond Enigma. And her mom, Erica, restores art. And this is partly what brings the Leal Romero clan to Guanajuato. Next slide, please. So like I said, this is a dual purpose trip for the family. The Leal Romeros go to Mexico to bring Julieta's 3-month-old baby brother to visit family in Erica's hometown, while she'll be working on some water damaged pieces for the Casa Museo Diego Rivera, which is pictured here. The house has since been turned in the museum, but saw the Mexican muralist Diego Rivera, also pictured here, coming to the world. But there have been some confounding events that keep resulting in 1 or 2 paintings being damaged. So Julieta is excited about spending 3 months in Guanajuato with her family, living in Tita Queta's house. That's her grandmother. Being here means there's more freedom and responsibility for Julieta as she hangs out with her triplet 8-year-old cousins, Maria Andres, Elisa, and Sofia, which have been affectionately named by Erika, the Mess, and Camila, her older cousin. Julieta is also learning how to play an instrument, the clarinet. She's getting to hang out at a new museum, but she's also doing some homeschooling and suffering through fractions. She's been having a hard time with fractions. But one thing that she is really excited about learning is Diego Rivera. If we can go to the next slide, please. Diego Rivera, if you know or if you don't know, was a prolific muralist in Mexico. He was born in 1906. He was married to Frida Kahlo, who I think is the most well-known Mexican painter here in the US. Diego painted mostly to capture the essence, struggles, and joys of the Mexican people. And the Museo Casa Diego Rivera now houses a large collection of his paintings. Julieta, of course, is captivated by his art, but is worried that if more paintings get damaged, this means her mom will have to stay and work for a longer period of time and potentially will have to stay in Guanajuato instead of going back to Boston. Can we get the next slide, please? And even though Guanajuato is a beautiful city with a vibrant history and colorful present, Julieta is anxious and does want to return back to her life and friends in Boston. But while she's in Guanajuato, she takes advantage and runs a bit wild, perhaps, with her cousins around the city, doing some touristy stuff. I really love writing Guanajuato into this story. I remember visiting the city on a family trip when I was little. So bringing readers to this amazing city has been a really cool experience. Plus, getting to visit while I was doing research for the story brought back a lot of memories for me. Like I mentioned, it's an amazing city with a mysterious vibe to it. The name Guanajuato actually comes from the Purepecha word for hill of frogs. The hill is pictured here, I guess. So I even learned, so Julieta could also learn how to make little origami frogs, which you might be able to see that I'm holding right now up to the camera. Back to the town, Guanajuato was built as a silver mining town, and it is a really old town, especially by American continent standards. There's a lot of folk legends and ghosts. Guanajuato also has a version of Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers that meet across an alleyway, and a version of La Llorona also inhabits those streets. There's even a mummy museum with locally grown mummies, not Egyptian mummies. And there's a bunch of tunnels and thousands of alleyways. If we can go to the next slide, please. These are, as you see pictured here, there's some alleyways, and maybe I think there's one of those is the tunnel. In the first two pictures on the top left corner, you can see the Callejón de los Changos, or the monkey alleyway. It's a tiny alleyway with stairs going up about 2 or 3 floors. You can see my shoes as I'm standing at the bottom. There's barely any room for one person to go up. So Julieta, of course, has to go up and romp around with her cousins. The town in Julieta and the Cryptic Rose really becomes a character in and of itself. The enigmas around it, its embeddedness in Mexican history, and the family outings that Julieta partakes in allowed me to build a world which she could explore, decode, and protect, all while eating delicious Mexican food and tres leches cake. My family previously secret tres leches cake is included in the book. If we can go to the next slide, please. And just like the introduction to this book, the story has a Spanish glossary of phrases used throughout. It has embedded information about a variety of cultural items throughout the story, like traditions and more detailed information about the art and descriptions in the back matter. So I invite you to join Julieta and her family in Guanajuato, spend some time there, enjoy the views, and save some art. I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
So it looks like someone was asking if the books are available in Spanish, and we can happily say that yes.
Yes.
Both the first one and then this one will be available. So they say yay. So
Yay.
thank you so much, Luisana. It was so cool to get to see all the behind photos of Guanajuato. And now I'll go ahead and hand things back to Jen.
Thank you. Yes. And thank you, Luis, and also to your family for allowing us to share your secret tres leches recipe in the book. We're excited about that. So yes, let's go ahead and chat about our new and paperback novels to help round us out. So first up, we have Indian No More. It is a 2020 American Indian Youth Literature Award-winning middle grade, and it is by the late Charlene Willing McManus as well as Tracy Sorrell. When Regina's Umpqua tribe is legally terminated and her family must relocate from Oregon to Los Angeles, she goes on a quest to understand her identity as an Indian despite being so far from home. Then we have The Smell of Old Lady Perfume by Claudia Guadalupe Martinez, which was named a Best Book of the Year by Chicago Public Library. The book follows Chela, who in this classic coming-of-age story faces challenges of sixth grade after losing her father, who was also her very best friend. Then we have The Doomsday Detectives, which received 4-star reviews, and it is written by Cindy Jensen Elliott and illustrated by Theo Nicole Lorenz. It's a fun and informative middle grade nonfiction book that outlines the many important scientific discoveries that aided the Alvarezes in their search for answers to the age-old question, what really happened to the dinosaurs? Next, we have The Shadow Prince by David Anthony Durham, a solar punk middle grade novel that is the first installment in a 4-book series, 3 of which have already been published. And it's set in an alternate Egyptian universe where 12-year-old Ash must compete and survive to become the shadow and protector of the prince. School Library Journal called it an exciting magical series opener, perfect for fans of Rick Riordan, Kwame Mbale's Tristan Strong, and Jonathan Stroud's Bartimaeus series. Then we have Fall of the Fireflies by Guadalupe Garcia McCall. This is the first installment in the Seasons of Sisterhood trilogy and is a reimagining of Sophocles' Antigone set in the world of her best-selling novel, Summer of the Mariposas, although you don't have to read Summer of the Mariposas to read this new trilogy. In Fall of the Fireflies, readers follow twins Vili and Delia as they take on a divine assignment to be monster hunting warrior women and save their father's life. It received 3-star reviews, including one from School Library Journal that called it a must purchase. And then last is another Guadalupe Garcia McCall novel, Shame the Stars, which will have a brand new cover for the paperback edition that is yet to be revealed. And this is a novel that, in the midst of racial conflict and at the edges of a war at the Texas-Mexico border in 1915, Joaquin and Dulcinea attempt to maintain a secret romance in this young adult reimagining of Romeo and Juliet. It was an America's Award commended title and selected by the Texas Library Association for their annual Teachers list. And so now that is pretty much the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about our fall 2026 season. We'd like to thank Wendy Shao, Karen Howe, and Luisana Duarte Armendariz for joining us today and presenting the Let's Read Decodable series, as well as The Sheep of Love and Julieta and the Cryptic Rose. Remember that we're always sharing more about our books online at Lee and Low across all of your favorite social media platforms. We'd love to have you all follow us there. And that's all. Thank you for your time, and we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.